Bentley at the 1. Bentley has an angle, and he's got just the kicker to beat. Bentley at the 30, the 25, the 15, a 99-yard kickoff return.
Over the top. Oh, stuffed by Bertrand. Yikes.
Now it's time for Illini Drive, your home on the way home for Illini sports every Monday at 6. Only on Champaign's Alternative, WPGU 107.1 FM.
Joey Gelman, host, Chicago, Illinois.
Steve Bourbon, co-host, St. Charles, Illinois.
Sam Sherman, co-host, Wilmette, Illinois.
Jeff Omer, social media guru, Naperville, Illinois.
Torrance Surreal, producer, Shy City, baby.
Welcome into Illini Drive. This is your home on the way home for Illini sports every Monday at 6 p.m. I'm Joey Gelman alongside Steve Bourbon, Sam Sherman, Jeff Omer, and Torrance Surreal, and we're here to bring you all the sports news that was from this past weekend. Follow us on Twitter at Illini Drive. Check out dailyillini.com and at DI Sports for all your sports information we'll have for you. Text line up and running, 217-337-1071, 217-337-1071. Rundown for today. Talking Illinois football, and hey, they won. Never get to say that on this show. So Illinois
Never get to say that.
So Illinois winner this weekend, and we'll go over that. We'll talk a little Bears football and NBA preview as it begins Tuesday and Wednesday for the Chicago Bulls, and then we'll check in with a familiar face at the 640 spot, and we'll talk a little World Series. So we start off with Illini football, as mentioned. Winners 28-24 over Minnesota, and the intro kind of alluded to it, but did we figure out what Riley O'Toole football was this weekend?
If I can break into my Tim Beckman impression, Riley O'Toole football is getting W's. They got to win. I mean, O'Toole really wasn't bad. He was 11 of 14 passing, ran for, I think it was about 60 yards. I mean, he did no harm on offense, but the real story, I think, was the defense actually, like tackling people.
Mm-hmm.
No, I mean, you're right. I think Riley was fine. I think that it's easy after a big win for the team like that to kind of look at it and look at the game and just immediately think, well, Riley O'Toole must have had a good game. But I think more so, like you said, it was that defense that for the most part was just dominant. I mean, and that's something that really, I know that we've had our struggles on the show discussing the Illinois defense and how effective they are, and I've even gone back to just agreeing that they're not very good. But wow, I mean, they were showing something yesterday. Or not yesterday, a couple days ago.
I mean, they still gave up a couple big plays. They had a 52-yard bomb, and then Cobb got loose for about an 80-yard run. But for the most part, they shut Cobb down. I mean, he ended up with, I think, 130 yards, but like I said, 80 came on one play. It just really, you didn't even recognize them, really. I mean, they were tackling well. They forced turnovers. I mean, they were doing things that good defenses do, and they shut down. They made Minnesota one-dimensional, I think, is what really did it. They put the corners out on an island, and they did get burned once on that, but they were able to stop the run. That's something we haven't been able to say all year.
And that's what you had to see, was making them one-dimensional. And you knew they had Cobb, and that's really what they were going to go to. And the fact that they were able to do that and really make sure quarterback play-wise for Minnesota really wasn't that great. I mean, it was a quiet, I guess, 240 yards because there were a couple of those big plays. But it was nice to see what seemed like a defense that actually schemed against an opponent under Tim Beckman to win a ball game. And it was surprising to see, and it felt like a college football game.
This was the first one that felt like a win.
Yeah, I
mean, they're 4-4, but the three in the non-conference felt like they were not losses. And I know that sounds weird, but they were relieved that they didn't lose yesterday. I mean, just watching them storm the field a play too early, just watching just the pure joy on all their faces. I mean, this is, I would say, probably only the third true win in the Beckman era. I would say Purdue last year and Cincinnati last year felt like a win. And so that's a little depressing.
That Purdue game felt like a win.
They were so happy. I don't know. I mean,
I think that, for me, that's what it was. And obviously on Illini Drive, we're fans of no one here. But what I am a fan of is seeing players, or just seeing people who put a whole lot of work into something, kind of see the benefits of it. And the Illinois football team finally was able to do that yesterday. And you're right, the joy that they had, just being able to see some of these kids, some of them seeing, a lot of them are the seniors on the team, for example, who are playing in their last homecoming, and to be able to, kind of just witness that, like, pure joy of just a team that's been really disappointing all season long and throughout Tim Beckman's time in Champaign. And they came out with a win, and so who knows exactly how big this win will be in the grand scheme of things. We'll discuss that, I'm sure. But there were definitely just a lot of good.
Just going back off that, I know you recently wrote an article about this could potentially save Beckman's career. Do you still stand by that belief?
Yeah, I do, and I think that it's amazing what one win can do. I was with everyone else. You guys know on the show, we were all saying Beckman should be fired, sooner than later. And I was totally with you, and I won't take that back. But now, after that win, something happened where I just sort of feel like, and I'm not saying that just this win saves his job, but I think he's put himself in a position where you get 1-2 more wins, maybe get to a bowl game, and you certainly, hey, you're laughing, Steve.
He's been drinking the orange and blue Kool-Aid over there.
Yeah, but hey, if you beat Purdue, you're 1 win away from bowl eligibility.
And now you're sounding like Tim Beckman.
No.
I'm not agreeing that it's a good thing. I'm just saying that reality of the situation.
If you beat Iowa, if you beat Penn State, both home games. If you beat Northwestern, another sort of a home game. So I think you're not far off. Yeah, they didn't beat Purdue. That was a bad loss, but they did beat Minnesota. And if you look at the schedule, and you were gonna go, pick win loss going, before the season, they're 4-4 here still, because you're not. We can all agree that you're losing to Nebraska, right? You're losing to Wisconsin.
Yep.
You're losing to Washington.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the Minnesota game was whatever, but I think a lot of people, it's sort of a toss-up. Well, then I've been saying this, but if it makes people feel better, then think about it like we beat Purdue and we lost to Minnesota, but it's actually a better situation for them to have beaten Minnesota. And yes, they lost to Purdue. There's no way of getting around that. But I definitely think this team's got a shot at a bowl game now.
I'm gonna go ahead and hold off on that sort of thought. Yes, they did beat Minnesota, but I think Minnesota beat themselves a lot with their turnovers. And still, I just don't trust this defense, as has been my theme for about 3 years now, that they can consistently be good enough to win. I think regardless who's under center, Cubitt will find ways to score points. They got 28. It's not great, but it was good enough to win. Lunt's coming back and after this week and the bye week, but I just don't know how this Illinois defense is going to be able to hold up. This is coming off a bye week. This should be their best performance. And moving forward, I don't know if they can sort of play with that same intensity, without Carroll Phillips, without Eaton Spence got dinged up. I don't know how serious that was, but I just don't know how sustainable it is. So I need to see a little more.
I don't know. I just think that, if you look at all sports, and you look at just one win and take one win out of any sport, most sports it's not that big of a deal. A win really just is just a win. But to me, in college football, one win can be, I'm not saying that this was, but I'm saying that it can be, more than any other sport, a big deal. I don't know if I'm going to go as far to say a program changer, but I might. I'm serious.
Can we kick him out now, please?
You're killing Steve right now.
Literally, this time last week, you're like, I don't know, Beckman should have his job on Tuesday. Yeah. You didn't say that, but...
Dang it. No, I know it. I know that these are powerful words, but I'm serious. In college football, wins can be bigger than they are in any other sport.
But while they're closer to bowl eligibility, I'm not confident that they will get there, and I don't think this kind of performance should save Beckman's job. I think it's nice to see, and like you mentioned, should be probably there.
I've never said that this one win saves Beckman's job. I'm saying that he's put himself in a position to save his job.
Okay, so you're saying he had to have this in order to have any chance.
This was one of those
That's
things
true.
where
I'll agree.
If he was discussing his job with somebody, he'd say, well, what if I get that Minnesota win? It's like, well, you're not going to get the Minnesota win. But it's like, well, what if I do it? Then it's like, okay, fine. If you get the Minnesota win, then maybe you get a couple other wins and then you save your job. And that's what I'm saying. He's put himself in a position. He hasn't done it yet. That's what I should have started out with.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Reeling it back in a little bit.
Come back to reality. You're coming back to planet Earth.
You're talking about
Am I
programming.
the only person on this show that has an opinion? Come on, guys.
I have an opinion that Tim Beckman has not saved his job and will not save
And
his
I didn't
job.
say he saved his job. I said he put himself in a good position to save his job.
Okay.
Makes sense. In order to save his job, he had to win this Minnesota game.
Did he win it?
Yes, so that makes sense. But I will say, I don't think that, in my opinion, it should save his job. And I think they schemed very well this weekend. They knew Minnesota was a lot more one-dimensional than maybe some other teams they've faced, and played to that defensively, and it worked. But I think that can't really continue the rest of the way because we've seen the inconsistencies. We've seen the diminished play of a lot of the secondary and even up front. And while it was good this week, it won't be there next week. And especially going on the road at Ohio State, I think it could turn right back around and be a blowout.
I definitely think they'll lose.
They will lose. They're going to get blown out at Ohio State.
Right. Which
So then what happens then if this is kind of, I mean, you didn't say it was a program changer, but if it's that kind of game that boosts your confidence, then you go to Ohio State and get killed. Where do you stand?
Well, see, I think that has to do with coaching there. I think that has to do with how they prepare their players going into Ohio State. What do you tell? What's the mentality? If it's me, I'm telling my guys, listen, Ohio State's going to be tough, but don't let anything that happens there. Well, most things. I mean, if they win somehow, then that's going to continue it greatly. But I mean, I would just say don't let whatever happens there, because it's going to be a tough game. You're never going to tell your team that you're expecting a loss, but it's going to be tough, and don't let that take away this feeling that they have against Minnesota. So I think that that's going to have a lot to do with just kind of preparing for that game, not only on the field, but also just from an emotional level.
and the one plus is you do have another bye week after Ohio State.
And then you don't leave the state of Illinois for the rest of the season.
Yes.
You travel up to Northwestern, but that's
It's home home against Iowa, home against Penn State, at Northwestern to end the year.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they'll be in the state.
That's a nice little homestand there, kind of. But then, what do you look for then next week? Because I don't think we saw enough Aaron Bailey this weekend, and I was kind of upset with that in the fact that you started him 2 weeks ago. Sorry, he came in replacement and played a good chunk of minutes, and then only had one real series in this past weekend. You just want to see more from him, and I think it's that issue of Beckman likes 2, Cubitt likes 1, and I don't know who wins that, but if you win like they did last week with O'Toole, with basically taking 90% of the snaps, they may stick with that, and then it kind of worries me of what they've done with Bailey. Because there are a lot of scenarios you could have brought Bailey in where you needed that extra yardage or those big push plays on third down to just power through.
Yeah, I did not like their handling of Aaron Bailey. I mean, he came in, this was after O'Toole had 3 drives, 2 went for long drives for touchdowns. And then coming off the second one, they bring in Bailey, which I did not agree with at all. Like, I get you're going to get Aaron Bailey in the game. Great. I love it. Let's get Aaron Bailey in the game. But it just seems like Beckman wrote down before the game, get Aaron Bailey in first series of second quarter. First series of second quarter, they put in Aaron Bailey. So I guess you're like sticking to your guns, but why not ride the hot hand with O'Toole and wait for him to go cold, which he did eventually. I mean, they didn't do much in the second half offensively, and then put in Bailey. Well, I don't get it.
The thing about O'Toole's performance, like up until when they put in Bailey, is that wasn't just like a good performance by O'Toole. That was like the best that he had played consistently, maybe in his career. And again, it's not like it was great, but we're talking about
Riley O'Toole football.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, I think that just to take the ball out of his hands when he is looking more confident, more effective more efficient than he's looked in his entire career, was very questionable, even if that's in the script. And that does go back to those kind of questionable coaching
And
decisions.
Especially you had O'Toole throw the ball 14 times. I mean, that's like Wisconsin low. That's like Minnesota low. Like, if you're running the read option, you run the triple option like Illinois was, why not use more Aaron Bailey, the guy who's really, really good at it?
Arguably like an elite running QB. Like pure running.
A threat from the quarterback position.
Yeah, and that was questionable, and that goes to, even though it was a win, that doesn't mean that there weren't some. I mean, mostly there were good decisions, I guess, but that was one that really didn't make a lot of sense and could have cost the team the game.
And then another, can they just take out that play, that bubble screen to the running back? That's a fumble, and then we don't pick it up. That's twice now that they throw it, no one picks it up.
It should have been a Minnesota touchdown.
It should have been a Minnesota touchdown. I don't know why the refs blew that dead.
Hey, you take away 5 plays, that's about a half of football.
Yeah. Beckman did say you take out 6 plays from this game, and Illinois gets a shutout.
That's unbelievable.
I just wonder, like, the thing that was amazing to me about the thing that quote was, I mean, like, you won, Tim. You won the game. You can just ride it out. Have your glory. You don't have to convince us that you could have gotten a shutout. I think that, like, people were okay seeing just a win. And
you're not expecting a shutout from this defense, let me tell you.
No, and by telling the media,
I'm not sure they could shut us out.
Yeah, that's the thing. By telling the media that, like, we could have had a shutout. Well, they don't buy that. No one believes that. So why say it? Just have your moment. You think, but whatever.
Yeah, literally, that's like the most response to like a lot of kind of when Beckman gets like off the rails a little bit. It's just like, I don't know.
Nod and smile. That's my rule.
You know what they should do? They should have them in. They should do the press conferences like in like a booth that projects out to the media, and then the SIDs have like a dump button that they. So there's like a 7-second delay on everything that he says.
And just suddenly, yeah.
But then we'd have no content. That's the best part of.
No,
our drops. Yeah.
I'm just saying that if you're him, maybe you want to think about what you say a little bit.
Oh, he's enjoying a W.
It's all harmless, and it's not. Yeah. But.
I'm surprised you guys didn't mention the gray jerseys yet.
Oh yeah. Do they wear those next week?
Spirit
We like them.
was definitely on the field. Rare Grange was out
like
there.
Ghosts out there.
I loved those jerseys.
But why Minnesota wore white against gray was beyond me. It was hard to see.
Yeah.
But I love the gray jerseys too. Don't get me wrong.
Awesome. And
now you have to wear them again.
And Beckman said after the game, I was kind of joking, but he said, I don't think we're going to take these off. And even though it was more in like a joking tone, I was thinking like, just keep them on. And again, like,
just don't ever take them off.
They can keep them on against Illinois State, and they're going to get blown out.
But they'll look good doing it.
They'll look good. They'll look great. Yeah, those are awesome.
I think Beckman's got one more jersey sleeve or jersey trick up his sleeve somewhere. So? I think so.
Do you guys see this trend? You have the jerseys. Then it was the last game with the rain delay, and then they won. Do you see? Is this some type of conspiracy or something?
What, just stuff happens?
Yeah,
supernatural.
It's like a Cubby occurrence, but it's an Illini occurrence.
Beckman's tied in, with something above. Is that what you're saying?
Maybe. I mean, they might. I guess they might kidnap the Buckeye or something for the next game. Kidnap the Illini buck or whatever.
The wooden turtle.
Yeah. Right.
Fun fact: it used to be a real turtle, and then they thought it was going to live forever, and then it died in 1927.
I thought you were going to say someone stepped on it.
Or PETA came along.
They were running on the fields. Yeah.
Wow.
Well, Riley O'Toole kind of looks like a turtle sometimes.
And with that, we're going to go to a commercial break. Riley O'Toole. Not Tool time, Turtle time. Joey Galvin! So we're going to take a quick break. You're listening to Illini Drive here on WPGU 107.1. When we come back, we're going to talk a little Bears and an NBA preview. So again, Illini Drive right here on Champagne's Alternative WPGU 107.1.
This is Wayne Randazzo from 670 The Score in Chicago, and you're listening to Illini Drive.
Derek ran right by him. Derek all the way in, and
too big, too strong, too fast, too good.
Welcome back into Illini Drive, your home on the way home for Illini Sports. DJ Torrance over there.
Stop. I just like it.
I like that. We're getting some good comeback music here. It keeps us on our toes. So again, at Illini Drive, tweet us. Jeff Omer is monitoring that. Maybe you can get your thoughts on the air. 217-337-1071 is the text line. Text us in there, all your thoughts. So, moving along, and we'll start, I guess, with the NBA because we had the Derrick Rose highlight there, and NBA starts on Tuesday, which is in most calendars tomorrow. Orlando and New Orleans, Dallas, San Antonio, Houston, LA. So fun to get some basketball back, especially when football has been dominating a lot of the headlines. So looking at these games tomorrow, how excited are you guys that getting some basketball back?
Thank goodness for opening week. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Been looking forward to it. As far as tomorrow game, one team I'm looking forward to seeing is I want to see the Pelicans this year. I think Anthony Davis.
Pelicans.
Shout out
on
to
name alone.
Mainly Anthony Davis, Chicago native. I think he's going to have a huge breakout year. He had a real good USA campaign. He had more of a leadership role this year. Obviously playing with the big team. And what was that 2014, I believe?
Yeah.
2014.
Yeah.
So just that experience, and I just honestly think he could potentially have a chance to be most improved this year. I really think he's going to make the All-Star team.
Oh yeah, he definitely.
He had a good year last year.
He was 20-10 with the
unibrow.
blocks.
He said with the unibrow.
I love the unibrow.
Yeah.
I love that he keeps it because that's who he is.
Yeah.
I totally respect that.
Yeah.
I think Anthony Davis is, by the end of the year, I think he's gonna be the third best player in the NBA.
I agree.
The best non-LeBron Durant guy.
What you think about some of those rankings though? They have Kevin Durant at 8th ESPN rankings.
Yeah, I don't get that. So okay, they said it's because of his injury. So like Kevin Durant in a walking boot right now is like the 8th best player. Like I don't get that. Everyone knows Kevin Durant's the second best player. Like just say it. Stop trying to get like people to freak out over it like I am right now.
League suffer though tomorrow without Durant for this stretch here. I mean, it's
the league or the Thunder.
Well, just the league in general that their top or their second superstar is out for a good portion here.
I don't think so. I think the NBA is trending in a really good direction, and it's the best it has been in a long time. Just look at the sales of some of these franchises. I mean, 5 years ago, you would have thought, it'd be hard for a team to go for $1 billion. Well, the Clippers went for $2 billion. So I think it hurts the Thunder more than the league. I'm intrigued to see what Westbrook does.
Oh, he's gonna love it. He's gonna love this opportunity.
Can he hit 40 shots a night?
He's gonna take them.
He's definitely gonna take it.
I think he could play 42 minutes and take 40 shots. That's realistic.
Yeah.
I mean, who else is going to score? Like Ibaka doesn't get his own shot.
Not really.
It's going to be Westbrook dribble it up. I don't know. Steven Adams ain't scoring.
Not really.
Jeremy
Lamb's
Lamb's
not
scoring.
Cephalosha, right? I don't think so. I think he's gone.
They got
really
Anthony
have a lot of
Morrow,
offense.
their big signing this offseason.
I thought Kevin Martin was still on the Thunder, so I'm not the best.
This is your home for Thunder basketball every Monday at 6
Wait, where is Kevin Martin now?
He's on T-Wolves.
Okay, so he's definitely not.
Definitely
on the Thunder.
not on the Thunder.
That was just a one-time thing.
The one year rental for James Harden.
He's got a weird shot.
Yeah.
Like a weird form.
It's like down by like his right elbow, and he just kind of like flicks it up.
Illini Drive, your home for Kevin Martin analysis.
For 2 years late, Kevin Martin.
And I guess just another topic, and it is basketball, but it's a little different in terms of the makeup of how the league is. And you had a couple votes last week to try to get an anti-tanking reform in the league. Didn't go through. You still have the one and dones in the NBA and Adam Silver trying to change it a little bit. So I guess there's a lot off the court as well, and I'm just curious with the tanking situation. It didn't pass. You're going to still see teams probably do what they're doing, and even though the lottery does its job, you're still going to probably get a top 10 pick there, and you're just seeing the 76ers, for example.
They do not want to win games.
No. They're tanking.
Well, that's the thing. Until a rule is passed or
right,
something,
they're going to keep doing it.
They're going to keep doing it because there's no reason not to.
Trouble.
Because if you're not in that upper or middle part of the NBA, the NBA power rankings hierarchy. That's the better word for it. Then you just tank and you try and
unless
start
you're
over.
a championship contender, like the middle part, like where I feel like Dallas is, you know, and like I don't know. Well, like Phoenix is young, but like like 8 seed, 7 seed. That's like the Hawks with Joe Johnson for like years. That's just like
you're just in basketball hell. There's no good and bad. You're in the playoffs, yay, but then you get a terrible draft.
Some
pick,
fans wanted the Bulls to tank last year.
Right. Well, they're kind of
Thibodeau's never going to take a season. He don't care if he have one player on that team.
That was the best part. It's like you guys might want the Bulls to tank, but
in the long term, it would have been better if they did, but they're not going to. What Philly is doing is a disgrace.
Yes.
They are going to win. They could lose 70 games this year, and that's not hyperbole. Like, look at their starting five. Now, is it going to work? Probably. I mean, you've got Carter Williams, Nerlens Noel, Embiid's not going to play this year, or they're not going to let him.
He's going to tweet, though.
Wait, why?
He's definitely going
to. I didn't even know.
Yeah, he had some back thing.
That's coming back.
He's coming along slowly.
Oh, so he can play at some point
sure
this year. They're just going to hold him.
They got some guy from Europe. They drafted 12th last year. They're going to be in the top 3 probably again this year. I mean, in a couple years, they're going to have a really solid core, but last year they traded away good players for literally nothing, and this year they do not want to win at all.
I know it's a disgrace, but I don't know what you do. I mean, and in a lot of fans' minds, too, it's like, okay, if you're not going to win a championship, then you might as well tank. I know that's sad and takes a competitive edge away from a lot of teams and kind of that loyalty and just wanting to love and play the game, but you mentioned the Bulls last year. It was kind of a real reality of, okay, Rose is done for that year. Team's not going to win a championship. They'll make the playoffs because it's Thibodeau. But if they're not going to win the championship, the fans were screaming for them to tank. Why would you give up an opportunity to get a top 10, 15 draft pick when you can? Because that can change your team, and because Rose's salary takes up so much of the cap, you get a guy cheap for a little while when you're still really good, and to move on there, it's just a really difficult spot for the NBA.
Yeah, for the Bulls last year, I don't think they should have tanked just because unless this year's draft was an exception because it was so loaded, but unless you're in the top 5, and Torrance, tell me if I'm wrong on this, you're probably not getting a star outside the top 5.
Talking about in the lottery?
Yeah.
Unless you're Cleveland, because every year they have to get
unless you're
somebody.
Cleveland. But even picks
you're right.
7 to 10, all the way up to 14 in the back end of the lottery, I mean, there are no guarantees that you're getting even a role player.
Well, you hope for that outside of the top 5. You're hoping that you can who you draft is a solid role player or something like that. But yeah, you're right. If you're not in that, then there's no
And the Bulls have a good infrastructure. I feel like they've taken great value picks. I mean, Jimmy Butler was at 29. Look where he is now. I mean, you hope the same. You hope Snell takes a step forward without the.
I mean, even guys like Taj. I mean, who was a later round draft or later pick in the. What was he picked at? Do you guys remember?
Snell?
No, Taj.
Oh, Taj. Taj was a second round pick because he went after James Johnson.
Oh, okay, yeah. So, James Johnson.
If you remember that, yeah.
Ooh, isn't that guy who got dunked on about LeBron? That's what I remember.
That's a pretty long list.
Yeah.
Me, Steve, you, James Johnson. Yeah, no, he got second round pick, and look how that's turned out. And it's good depth they have. But
he was the 26. Yeah. Shout out to Jeff.
Yeah, so I mean they're getting value from their picks,
right?
So it's not, and they know mostly how to draft players. So it's not like you said, it doesn't seem like they really need that unless you're going to get in that top 5.
The question for tanking teams is, okay, when do you stop? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, look at Orlando. We're on year 4 without Dwight Howard now, and they have no signs of being competitive. I mean, for a team like that, they've missed on a lot of guys. They got Oladipo. I mean, that draft was just garbage.
Jameer Nelson's not even on the Magic anymore, right? If I'm not mistaken. Jeff, find out where Jameer Nelson is.
I'm doing work.
I think he's still there, at least in spirit.
Who is that guy?
Who's that? Who's this guy?
On the Mavericks now?
Dallas Mavericks is where Jameer Nelson is.
He doesn't even have
Illini Drive. You're home for Jameer Nelson updates.
Oh my God! Get no views from that.
Slowly, people turning off their radios in their cars. I guess then for Wednesday, then for the Bulls, Derrick Rose. Derrick Rose looked good in that last preseason game. Played a lot in the fourth quarter. And
last few games.
Yeah, you just hope he continues to have that edge to him because he'll have to play a little differently. But if he can do what they're asking him to do, and if Thibodeau actually plays rookies, and you stick a guy like McDermott out there who can complement him on the outside shooting, it could be a good start. And hopefully, a good finish for what should be a very competitive team, but don't know if they're championship caliber with the Cavs now. But
I think they should be 2 in the East.
Yeah.
I don't see any reason why they shouldn't be. I mean, the East is still a mess. I mean, I get Washington's up and coming, so is Toronto, but I think the Bulls are better than them. As I think Rose, I like. I know it's only preseason, but I like when he's at 30 minutes a night.
Yeah.
I think, and the Bulls can get away at point guard. I mean, Heinrich's reliable, and Aaron Brooks can score in bunches, occasionally, I guess. So I want to keep Rose's minutes down and just, be cautious. I know that's probably overly so, but I don't see any reason to give him 40 minutes a night just right from the get-go, like Thibodeau is probably wanting to do.
What's up with the Bulls and these part-time point guards when Rose is injured?
It's like you're a point guard on the decline. It's just like a 1-year fix.
Right.
You're better. John Lucas got a contract off the Bulls. Orlando paid him a little bit.
Yeah.
Instead of Jameer Nelson, they paid him instead.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I was able to go to the last Bulls preseason game on Friday night, and you guys know where I was at with Derrick Rose in terms of expectations and things like that. And I mean, again, it is preseason, but he was getting a solid, a good number of minutes out there, and I was impressed. I think that the biggest takeaway I had is that he's going to look like a different player going forward. Just kind of his approach a little bit. It's a little bit more about touch, I guess. You're not gonna see him probably, smashing into the lane as much as he used to. I mean, I think he'll do that a little bit. But I mean, he hit a few threes. It looked a lot smoother, and it kind of gave me some confidence for him going into the year that maybe he can kind of return a little bit to form.
Yeah, I think the thing that could make this Bulls team really great is if Butler continues to develop offensively, and if he can have any sort of pull-up game and reliability from three, and then also if Powell has anything left. I think Powell's looked pretty good in the preseason, but I mean, there's a difference between now and 5 months from now.
That's the thing. I mean, he'll contribute, I think, but just seeing him like the other night, like he's older. He's not as fast as not that he was ever really a quick guy. But he's lumbering a little bit, but that doesn't mean he can't contribute because he's obviously had a great NBA career.
My favorite part about Pau Gasol, if you've seen it, is the new Sesame Street special that he's in, and they showed a Vine of it, and he's just dancing with all the Sesame Street characters.
Is he Big Bird?
Close. He's pretty close.
I always thought
it's just fantastic, and he's just a happy, fun-loving guy with Sesame Street. So that puts him up in my book a notch. Okay. What worries me though, and who may have to play a lot of minutes, is because they reported the other day Joakim Noah may have just a couple of knee issues coming into the season, and so
they need him.
That always worries you when you already have Rose on more of a limited schedule of playing time, and then if you have to put Joakim Noah on a little bit of a monitored playing time schedule, that really it just hampers what you want to do. And while everyone screams and yells that Thibodeau needs to really rest his players, if you rest them too much and then you already have these limited time slots, it's just the camaraderie may not be there when you need it to be, and you're just worried one bad step for either of those guys sets your team right back. And I mean, I know it's a lot of what ifs, but it's just a difficult spot when you're going into the season when top players on your team have a huge risk of injury. Not to mention Joakim Noah already fighting plantar fasciitis every season he's been with the Bulls.
And yeah, this is what it's like being a Bulls fan.
Yeah.
We're just watching, behind our hands here and hoping that nothing catastrophic happens. But I mean, if Joe only plays 50 games in the regular season,
50 minutes.
what was that overtime game last year when Jimmy played like 62 minutes?
Oh yeah, Thibodeau just did not take him out.
Like that poor guy. Like does he ever want to come out?
They're getting their full value for that pick.
Yeah.
And they have been for a while. I don't know. I mean, I guess you kind of figure if the guy's not looking to come out and you're like Thibodeau and you don't care about your player's health, then then you leave him out there.
I just love the Thibodeau that we hear on TV. It's just like a dog barking.
Oh yeah.
I'm a whale. It's preseason too.
Especially during like Team USA, you've got guys that have never played defense before. And like James Harden is just like, why is this guy yelling so much?
But in terms of like the health thing, I mean, you're right, Steve. This is what it is as a Bulls fan, and you can't do anything if you're a fan to prevent it. So you just kind of have to hope that the team knows what they're doing and keeping their guys as healthy as they can. And if injuries happen, then they happen. And I think Bulls fans know that, to its full, effect now.
I mean, I'm still really excited, even with all the what ifs, mostly because of how badly the Bears have done.
Yeah, and sadly, we only have a minute till break, so we can't really get into Bears a lot. But as many of our listeners
Tom Brady,
know,
good. Bears, bad.
Yes, Bears fall 51-23 to the Patriots this weekend. And
I think one play summed that up. And it was at the goal line. They had Gronk on Shea McClellan at the goal line. Like, whenever you see that, like, how do you think anything good is going to happen for that Bears defense if you have Shea McClellan on the best tight end?
Yeah, I was going to say, forget about, like, who the receiver is. If just Shea McClellan on anybody, you're not confident. But when then you take the guy, the guy who creates the most mismatches in the NFL up against Shea McClellan, it's not going to be good.
No.
It's just not. And it wasn't.
Not to mention Slauson out for the year, torn pec.
Lamar
Houston.
Yeah, we'll get to Houston later. Don't worry.
Yeah, tore his ACL doing something.
And right now the organization's just in a bad place.
It's a bad spot.
It's like it's got like a Illini stink.
Yeah, exactly. You're right.
The ghost of Red Grange didn't help them. It only helped Illinois this weekend.
Something about the orange and blue, I think.
Yeah. So we're going to have to go to break here. But, yeah, Bears fall this weekend and just difficult spot where obviously defense is a lot of the big issues, but you're not seeing their production on the offense that you have to see with the guys on paper that they have. Amazing to me that it just hasn't progressed. You're not seeing a lot going over the middle. And defensively, the fact that you don't have a guy on Gronkowski on the line and that he goes with a free release every time, that's beyond me. I don't understand that. And I know Torres is going to yell at me because we have to go to break, and I could rant about this all day. But it's just amazing that the fact that you know this guy's going to go. You know you can't cover him. All you need to do is get a hand on him. Mm-hmm. The 5-yard cushion's there for a reason off the line. And the fact that just if you touch him, it disrupts the timing of the route.
A little. Yeah.
Just a little bit.
You just get trucked.
Well, even so, if he
has
to truck you, he still has to, it just disrupts a little bit of the timing. You'd hope you'd see that adjustment. Of course, we didn't. Bears fall again 3-5 now in the season, and not a pretty picture for the Bears. And
if they went out, they could go 11-5.
There you go.
And that's a playoff team.
With a bye at Green Bay, yikes. So, take a quick break here. We're going to come back and talk World Series with a good friend of ours, Jamal Collier, will join us over the phone. You're listening to Illini Drive on Champagne's Alternative, WPGU 107.1.
This is Stephen Bardo. If you want all the latest and greatest in sports, check out the Illini Draft, WPGU 107.1.
Welcome back into Illini Drive, your home on the way home for Illini Sports every Monday at 6. And we go to the phone line here, welcoming a good friend of the show, former Illini Drive host Jamal Collier, live from Kansas City, because he's a lot more important than we are now in covering World Series baseball. Jamal, how are you?
Hey, guys, I don't know what that more important thing, but I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
So we know you want to talk Illinois football.
It's a trap, Jamal. That's why we have you on.
Hey, they're coming off a win here, and I'm sure you guys have already noted that they might not lose again, right?
I did, yeah. That was my.
Yeah.
So starting off, go for it.
Go ahead. No. I was just saying I was on the West Coast for Saturday's game, and for a second I thought about waking up and actually watching it at 9 a.m. and decided that was an absolutely awful idea. And of course they win.
Yeah.
The first Big Ten home win in, 3 years? Which is, that in itself is ridiculous. But then, of course, I missed it because I was napping.
Well, I think it's pretty clear, Jamal, you can't watch any more Illini games.
Yeah.
Yeah, you promise? Is that?
Dude, how's the weather out there, man?
Well, I'm back in Kansas City now, and it's pretty good. It's about 72 when we landed. The weather in San Francisco was obviously amazing. And, but it's been good weather this whole World Series. No complaints about too cold to be playing baseball this late in the year this year, because it's been really a beautiful weather for both cities for the Fall Classic.
Actually, Jamal, just before we get into like the games and all the action, I was just wondering what's this whole experience been like for you? I mean, obviously you're talking the weather's been kind out when you're out on the West Coast, but what's all this been like? I mean, just covering the World Series.
Oh man, it is it's really weird, and I understand sometimes when players say you're kind of along for the ride, and then after you may kind of sit down and kind of go, wow, with kind of everything that's happened. Because that's how I kind of feel at the moment. I'm kind of just trying to go through it. It's been a whirlwind ever since last Sunday when I first left for Kansas City. A lot of crowded is where the Cubs to mind. There's a lot of media from everywhere, and the locker rooms are crowded. The players are trying to maneuver through everything, and it's just a really, really neat experience for everything. The games have been amazing. The atmospheres, both in San Francisco, there's not really a team that's been there before. They don't sound less excited, those fans, for these games. And in Kansas City, obviously, these things only happen once every 3 decades around here, and they're thrilled and they're pumped. And I'm going to tell you, on the way to the ballpark at about like 2 p.m., they get people out there tailgating through games 1 and 2, and I expect very much the same for tomorrow, and especially if we get to Wednesday night.
So what have you seen so far? I mean, you come into this series and you see the Royals coming off this unbelievable string of wins and kind of that team of destiny and Cinderella team almost. And then they come into this Giants team and actually becomes a series. The Giants take a lead in the series. So what's been your overall impression between these two teams? I mean, you had a Royals bullpen that was lights out, and now the Giants, because they've been there before, seem to be coming back and may take this series.
Yeah, a couple notes on that. The first is a shameless plug for myself, is that I actually wrote about that last night after the game, is that the Royals bullpen has allowed 5 runs to the first 11 games of the playoffs. In the last 2 nights, the Giants have actually scored 11 runs off the Royals bullpen. Now, that first game, it's game 2 days ago, game 4. It was against the Royals middle relievers. And the Royals middle relievers have been good, but even though they scored 8 runs against them, that's nice. But last night, they tacked on 3 runs, and 3 really crucial runs to kind of put the game out of reach. And that was against Wade Davis and Kelvin Herrera. And that's a borderline miracle, because those guys do not give up runs ever. And Wade Davis almost gave up a home run, and he's given up 5 extra base hits all year. And the fact that Juan Perez almost hit the ball in the ballpark on him is just borderline insane. So, if the Giants have found a way to piece together runs against the bullpen, then the Royals, that's a big part of their plan. And the other part is the Royals are going to just have to win the 4 games that Madison Bumgarner does not appear in, because he is by far away the best pitcher in the series and even the best player in the series at this moment. He has shown himself dominant. The fact that he has 31 World Series innings in his career and 1 earned run is just borderline ridiculous, and should not be legal. He's and he has looked that good and that dominant, and the Royals don't hit many balls hard off of him. It's really insane. That being said, Madison Bumgarner will likely be available in the bullpen in Game 7, but the Giants start these next 2 days, and Peavy and Hudson are underwhelming. And, that's why the Royals don't seem out of it, even though they're coming back, especially with these 2 games being here in Kansas City.
Again, talking to Jamal Collier on the phone here, former host of Illini Drive, live covering the World Series for MLB.com.
Well, so Jamal, what kind of is the formula for the Royals? Is it just, get to the 6th with a lead and then, hope they can slam it down kind of like they have been? I mean, their offense has kind of been struggling recently.
It really has. I mean, the formula for them this whole, throughout this whole run has kind of just been just enough offense and just enough innings from the starters, and then you give it to those 3 guys at the end, the 3-headed monster, they're so-called, and the game's over. Just like that, because they just wipe you out, and so far I think it's tough, because if you're calling on 2 innings from Herrera every time, you're kind of taxing his arm in a short amount of time. So that's tough. And, Ned Yost, God love him, he does not seem to be willing to deviate the formula and throw away Davis for 2 innings or let Greg Holland do extra outs or really do anything different than pitch Kelvin Herrera in the 6th now instead of waiting till the 7th. So, I think their formula is still that. I think they have to, produce a little bit more offense. They're going to have Ventura, who's a really good pitcher, really a young pitcher on the mound tomorrow night, and he's got to probably get them through 5 and with the day off, and really with maybe some of those middle relievers having didn't pitch again on Sunday's game 5. Key for those guys for Yost, I should say, to really not let Ventura get through that 6th inning when you get the middle of the order the 3rd time through, and be willing to kind of have a quick leash and get the game over to his bullpen, because I still think that's what they have to rely on if they're going to win this series. And the good news for them is, I just looked at this stat, as a matter of fact, before I came on, and this is a good one for you guys here. You better finish off the home teams in Game 6 when you come back up 3-2 in the World Series. Since 1982, they're 13-1. The home teams are if they get to Game 7. So, big win, big game for both teams.
Yeah, and I guess something I was sort of curious about. Obviously, last night, the baseball world received really the tragic news that Cardinals prospect Oscar Taveras died in a car accident with his girlfriend, and I'm assuming that you would have been in the press box when that news had kind of broke, right?
Yes.
So what, when there's a World Series game happening in front of you, and then a tragedy like that is sort of found out about, what was the mood in the press box at that time?
I think it was more surreal. From the first, it was the opening innings of it, as the word kind of circulated through, and all the banter and the complaining about our fantasy football teams kind of stopped for a second, and everybody kind of was really kind of glued to their computer or phones or a combination of both, just trying to figure out more details and figure out just kind of what happened. And it was a really, really weird. The auxiliary press box in AT&T is actually outdoors. And I was out there in left field, so to be outdoors while these fans are going crazy, for the Giants, most of them probably having no idea obviously what's going on at the game, while there's rows of kind of people being kind of in stunned silence. Just a really weird environment, a weird combination. And it was weird, in the aftermath too of the game, where you could tell some of the players, had been told maybe late in the game or found out just after the game too. And it was just a really surreal day for baseball. It kind of put everything in perspective as well. And it's just a terrible tragedy, I guess.
What was some of that player reaction like, if you were able to kind of collect any of that?
Yeah, I was in the Royals clubhouse, and Francisco Pena had played with Taveras through the Dominican Republic on the same team. They played against each other in the minors, and he found out. He'd come into the after the game, he came to the clubhouse and found out moments really before the media scrum was let in. So that was just for him, his emotions felt very raw, and it felt very intrusive for us to even really be there. And, Juan Perez, I was not in the Giants clubhouse, this is just from me reading, and Juan Perez apparently was sobbing, in the dugout. There's moments with, and didn't have to continue and eventually get into that game and came up with that big hit against Wade Davis, which is a tremendous thing for him. And it just was really sad, really kind of shocking. I know, a lot of players spoke about how just kind of insane it was to be watching this guy, 2 weeks prior was hitting a huge home run for the Cardinals, a game-winning home run for the Cardinals, and then, expect to have just a long and bright career, and for it to end so suddenly was just kind of put everyone off guard.
And then moving forward here, have we heard anything else on the details of what happened? I mean, we know car crash, him and his girlfriend passed away, but has there been anything else you've heard or seen to the details of what had happened?
Yeah, not this morning. I was just reading today's paper as I was flying, but I've been in the air for the most part here on getting from San Fran to Kansas City. So I have not seen anything yet, and not sure if anything else has kind of developed. But I'm really curiously checking too. And after I get up the call with you guys.
And what are your thoughts here for the next game here on Tuesday? Do you think the Giants wrap this thing up pretty quickly, or the Royals have a fighting chance here to make it Game 7?
Well, here's something you should know is that, I used to kick you guys' butt in these predictions, and very easily so, which shows you guys really were not very smart because I am absolutely awful at these. I think I've picked almost every series wrong in the playoffs, and I've picked against the Royals every single time. And that being said, now I believe the Royals are going to win Game 6. The series feels like it's going to be going to Game 7. Ventura definitely feels like a better pitcher. I think I like the Royals' chance on Tuesday night, and then Wednesday may as well be a coin flip because you're going to have Bumgarner probably get into the game at some point. Shields going to get in the game at some point. Who knows what's going to happen? It would just be totally insane, total madness, and couldn't be more excited for the thought of a Game 7. Maybe I'm just actually wishing for a Game 7. That actually might be it. That being said, I'm picking Royals tomorrow.
Yeah, the Royals just need something out of their starters and their hitting. I mean, Shields.
The big thing is that they can't text everybody tonight in their bullpen and have to turn around and do it a second straight day on Wednesday.
But you can't save them. Yeah. That's kind of the dilemma, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it is, and that's like you said, why Ventura is very important tonight, and really a guy like Brandon Finnegan is going to be pretty important tonight to probably come in that sixth inning at some point, and whether it's him or a combination of him and Vargas or someone, those guys are going to have to get them through. And 2 innings out of Herrera tonight would not be great for the Royals. I mean, it would be great because he would probably just strike everybody out, but if the plan of Game 7, you'd hopefully only get through 1 inning tonight.
And so, Jamal, we know we've been focusing on your baseball expertise here, but because you're joining us back here in Champaign, we have to ask if you have a badass of the week for Illini Drive here. Did we lose you?
I guess so.
I guess he didn't have a badass.
Wow. All right. Well,
so that was Jamal Collier on our phone line here, giving us an update from the World Series, and decided that at 6:58, no more.
Yeah. Well. Thanks to Jamal for coming on. He's always a good guy to talk to, and a former host of the Illini Drive. So
bring those alumni back.
You got to, yeah.
A little late, but it's still kind of a homecoming.
Yes, exactly. Well, it looks like he's calling back right now. But
Sam, do you have your badass?
Well, I don't have a badass, but I have a guy. I have sort of the opposite.
The dumbass.
Yeah, exactly, and that is Lamar Houston of the Chicago Bears.
Here?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, we got you, Jamal. Do you have your badass of the week?
You bailed out on us, man.
None of that crap. No, yeah, I feel like I should have thought about it more, but can I go with Madison Bumgarner?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
I feel like Sherman would definitely take it. Sam didn't do it. Okay.
It's pretty unoriginal, but
Sam, who'd you take?
Well, no, I was going with like the opposite, and I was just going to take Lamar Houston as like the opposite of a badass of the week.
Dumbass of the week.
Yeah. To have celebrated.
Wait. I totally want to change mine.
Oh, okay.
I went from 0 to 2 in like 10 seconds. Cut me off before I get to like 6. Ben Roethlisberger. How about that?
Ooh,
yeah.
Okay, repping your Steelers. Okay.
Mm-hmm. I'm not a homer, trust me.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna go with TCU football. They hung 82 on Texas Tech on Saturday. I love the Red Raiders.
And you're a Texas Tech fan too.
I love Cliff Kingsbury, but he's not playing defense, and apparently he's not coaching defense either. Because it has to be, you have to try and give up 82 points. That's ridiculous.
That was crazy, and it looked like the Patriots were gonna put up close to that yesterday against the Bears.
I was never worried.
And Jamal, I have one last question for you.
Go for it.
Since you're in the East Side Auxiliary press box, so you're outside there at AT&T as well as where you are at Kauffman, food-wise, I know the Giants have their garlic fries. Kansas City has those brisket nachos. Have you had either one? Which one's the better?
Well, you know me better than that, so of course I've had both. The garlic fries are good. It's a lot of garlic to kind of eat at once. Some I probably should have split with somebody.
Really good for talking to people after the game, too. Ooh.
Yeah, I probably eat my weight in barbecue.
As you should have, yeah.
In Kansas City, and it's amazing, and I'm so excited for a couple more days here because I'm going to try to do it again.
That's why you won a Game 7, just to eat.
Oh, you think I went to watch baseball? Oh, no.
Well, Jamal,
Yeah,
thanks for
Go ahead. Talk up.
I was just going to say thank you for joining us, and hopefully you get a little more barbecue this week because we all love to see Game 7's a World Series and some nice historic moments, maybe for the Royals, who were 30 years late.
You know, Jamal, you know where the University of Illinois is. You could send us some some barbecue
package.
You know, it'll probably get old and bad by the time it gets there, so I won't even waste my time, guys. Don't
just eat it yourself. Yeah.
I mean, I have a microwave, so we can make it work.
So, Jamal, thanks for coming out. We really appreciate it. Hopefully, we'll talk to you soon. And if there's Game 7, we can keep talking to you some more. So, thank you again for jumping on.
Thanks for having me, guys.
That is Jamal Collier, former Illini Drive host and working for MLB.com, the big time, covering the World Series. So, already 7:01. Look at that.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Show come and gone.
Just keep going. Keep reeling it in.
I'm in. They may kick us off. I could talk for 3 more hours.
Try that sometime. We just got to keep talking until
the bat phone will ring. If you can see it on UPTV, there's our light tower here. The white one goes. That's the big man saying, over. "Get off the air."
So you don't gotta leave, but you can't stay here.
Yeah. So this has been Illini Drive on WPGU 107.1. We thank you for tuning in today. Follow us at Illini Drive, at DI_sports, at the Daily Illini. Go to the website, dailyillini.com. You can find our podcasted version of Illini Drive. We're actually going to have that up for you tomorrow. We've been having some technical difficulties, so we'll have the final podcasted copy as well as the YouTube copy up for you on the Daily Illini website tomorrow evening. Our thanks to our friends at UPTV for putting us on the air. That'll re-air Wednesday night at 9 p.m. So for Torrance Sorrell, Jeff Omer, Steve Bourbon, Sam Sherman, and Jamal Collier, who joined us at the end there, thank you for tuning in. I'm Joey Gelman, and remember, this is your home on the way home for Illini Sports and Champagne's Alternative, WPGU 107.1.